Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a topic that, let's be honest, can feel pretty huge for any early career clinician or researcher: how to actually write and publish your first clinical paper. We're going to break it all down and turn what feels like a massive task into a simple, clear roadmap.
Okay, so let's start with the most basic question, one that every single one of us has probably asked ourselves. With everything else you have going on, why bother with the whole process of getting published? Is it really worth all that effort?
If your first thought is, well, it's for my CV, you're not wrong. That's a totally fair place to start. But the real reasons, the important ones, they go so much deeper than that and are actually fundamental to how you grow as a professional.
Look, publishing is just so much more than ticking a box. At its very core, it connects right back to the reason most of us got into medicine to begin with: to improve patient care. If we don't share what we learn, how does anything ever get better? Plus, the process itself teaches you so much: teamwork, ethics, how to analyze data. These are skills that are going to serve you no matter what you do in your career.
All right, so let's get practical. How do you go from just an idea floating around in your head to a real, actual project you can tackle? Getting started the right way? Well, that's half the battle right there.
This quote right here, this might be the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. Do not go it alone. Seriously, in every department, there's someone who's a publishing machine. Find that person. Having an experienced mentor is your best asset for navigating, well, everything, from sharpening your idea to picking a journal.
Before you even think about writing a single word, you have got to run through this checklist. Be real with yourself about your timeline. Keep your research question tight and focused. Honestly, the simplest ideas are usually the best ones. And please, please involve a statistician from day one. There is nothing worse than getting to the end of a project and having them say, if you just collected this one other data point, it would be perfect, but as it is, it's useless. Get them in early.
The blank page. We've all been there, right? Staring at it, totally intimidated. So here's the strategy. We're going to build up some momentum by starting with the easiest parts first.
And here's the secret, straight from a journal editor, so listen up. Do not start with the introduction. Start with your methods and your results. Why? Well, because these sections are just descriptive. You're just reporting what you did and what you found. It's a way less scary task than trying to build a whole persuasive argument from nothing.
Think of this as a super clear division of labor. The method section is your recipe book. It has to be so clear that someone else could follow your steps exactly. The results section, that's just you showing everyone what you found. The raw numbers, the cohort characteristics, no opinions, no interpretation. It is purely the what.
Okay, here is a pro tip to make your results section clean and super effective. If you have a great table with all your data, whatever you do, do not just repeat all that data in a paragraph. It makes the text clunky and impossible to read. Instead, your job is to be the tour guide. Use the text to point out the single most important or surprising thing in that table, and then just write as shown in Table 1. Let the table do the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so we've got the methods and results down. Now it's time to tackle the intellectual heart of your paper, the introduction and the discussion. And to do that, we're going to borrow a really powerful framework from a place you might not expect: Hollywood's screenwriting. You have seen this structure in almost every great movie ever made. And it turns out, it's also the secret to a great scientific paper. It's all about creating a story that hooks the reader, presents a clear problem, and then gives them a satisfying solution. Let's see how it works. Now look how cool this is. The exact same structure builds both your introduction and your discussion. For the intro, Act 1, you set up the background. Act 2, you confront the gap in our knowledge. Act 3, you resolve it with your plan. Then in the discussion, you do it again. You set up with your findings, confront them by comparing to other studies, and resolve it by explaining what it all means. But, and this is my favorite part, notice that little fourth act just for the discussion? The monster comes back. This is where you have to be honest about your study's limitations. Every study has them, and being upfront about it is what makes you credible. So, your paper is written. It's structured, it's clear, it's compelling. You're done, right? Not quite.
The final step is a strategic mission. You have to find the perfect journal to be its home.
The key here is to think like an editor for a second. What do they want? They want papers that fit their journal's focus, that are timely, and that are written well. A clean, focused paper has a much better shot. And of course, they want work that's going to be cited by other people. That's basically the currency of the academic world.
So how do you pick? You've got to weigh all these things. Is your work for a big general audience or a small niche group? Be realistic about the impact factor. But don't just chase the big numbers. Sometimes the right paper in a smaller, specialized journal can have way more real-world impact because it reaches the exact people who need to see it. And finally, check out how long they take to make a decision. You don't want your amazing work sitting in review for a year.
This quote right here, this is basically the guiding philosophy for your entire paper. From that single, focused research question all the way down to every sentence you write, your goal should always be simplicity and clarity. Just make it easy for people to understand. The more accessible your work is, the more impact it's going to have.
From finding a mentor to mastering that 3-act structure, you now have the tools and the roadmap to get your work out into the world. Thanks for joining this explainer. Now it's your turn to take these steps, share what you've learned, and tell your story. So, what's it going to be?